It began on a cool spring morning in West Hollywood, when Emily Carter, a tech entrepreneur with a schedule that didn't understand the meaning of weekend, found herself standing at a small airport terminal with her golden retriever, Miles. She was headed to a 3-day investor summit in Aspen, but the look in Miles' eyes told her he knew she was leaving again. She knelt beside him, held his face, and whispered, "This time, it's going to be different." She had heard of the Aria Canine Estate, a luxury pet resort nestled in the Malibu Hills. It wasn't just a boarding facility. It was a place with orchestral lullabies at bedtime, custom aromatherapy for anxiety-prone pups, Michelin star-trained chefs cooking canine-friendly meals, and private suites with panoramic views. It sounded absurd, even for L.A., but when you spend your life building a future in tech, sometimes you crave something old-fashioned: peace of mind. Miles was checked in that morning by a concierge wearing a tuxedo bow tie. Not because it was a gimmick, but because the owner of Aria, retired opera tenor Giovanni Rinaldi, believed every dog deserved the elegance of a proper welcome. The moment Miles entered, he was assigned a canine lifestyle associate, a certified animal behaviorist trained not just in veterinary basics, but in canine psychology, energy healing, and, believe it or not, guided meditation. As Emily's jet soared through the clouds, Miles was being fitted for his massage session. Swedish technique, 45 minutes, lavender oil infused. Meanwhile, he'd have access to hydrotherapy pools, daily off-leash hikes with GoPro footage emailed to Emily, and yes, a bedtime story read by one of the staff, who had been trained in theater at Juilliard. This wasn't just pet care. It was a dog's version of a 5-star retreat, redefining what we thought animals needed, and maybe what we failed to realize they deserved all along. The story of Aria Canine Estate wasn't an isolated one. All across the country, from Napa to Nashville, from Miami to Montauk, VIP pet resorts were rising, not in the shadows of indulgent wealth, but in response to a deeper cultural shift. People weren't just adopting pets anymore. They were adopting companions, soulmates, silent therapists. And once you saw your dog that way, how could you put them in a wire kennel with fluorescent lights and barking chaos while you went away? Back in Aspen, Emily sat at a dinner table surrounded by venture capitalists and founders pitching dreams in polished phrases. But what kept buzzing in her mind wasn't Series A or product market fit. It was a photo that had just arrived on her phone. Miles, in a plush robe, lying on a chaise lounge with his paw on a glass of filtered spring water, his eyes half closed in bliss. She couldn't help but laugh. Not out of mockery, but out of joy. It was the first time she had gone away without guilt. These luxury boarding services had done more than just create elite spaces for dogs. They had tapped into something visceral: the need for humans to feel their loved ones are safe, cared for, and even pampered. In a world where burnout is currency and loneliness is epidemic, dogs became the bridge, our soft places to land. And now, the world was finally building soft places for them, too. There was the Canine Chateau in Manhattan, which offered rooftop dog yoga with classical violinists playing live. There was Haven and Hound in Austin, where dogs got custom-designed bedrooms inspired by their personality traits, vetted through psychological assessments done by animal therapists. One corgi named Luna had her room designed like a 70s disco lounge because she had shown a penchant for rhythm and sparkly toys. But the most stunning trend wasn't extravagance. It was a humanization of pet care. Not treating dogs like humans, but honoring their emotional lives as rich, real, and deserving of respect. There were grief counselors on staff for pets who had lost their bonded companions. Dogs who were introverted were offered solitude with scenic views, while extroverts were booked into paw ties that resembled intimate house gatherings with curated groups of compatible canine friends. Soon, TikTok caught on. One video of a dachshund named Biscuit attending a Pupcello weekend retreat, complete with flower crowns, paw art, and acoustic guitar sessions, hit 27 million views in 2 days. Another, a behind-the-scenes vlog from a luxury pet chef preparing organic salmon souffle with bone broth foam, launched a series of parody accounts that only fed into the real thing's popularity. The line between satire and aspiration blurred. People began asking hard questions. What if this wasn't just luxury, but love expressed through care? What if we had always underestimated how deeply animals feel, process, remember? A woman named Sonia, a nurse in New Jersey, went viral after posting about her rescue pit bull, Teddy. He had lived most of his early life chained outside in the snow. For his 10th birthday, she booked him into a 3-day stay at the Barkley, a dog spa that included Reiki sessions and a journal where staff documented his behavior and mood. The entry on day 2 read, asterisk, Teddy watched the sunrise quietly. He leaned into the therapist during his shoulder massage. When I whispered that he was safe now, he licked my face and sighed. Asterisk, the post reached millions. Because it wasn't about the extravagance. It was about giving a creature who had known pain a moment of peace. Soon, celebrities weren't the only ones flying their pets first class to retreats. Every day, people were setting aside savings, not just for vacations or new gadgets, but for experiences that let their dogs feel seen, nurtured, celebrated. And in return, those dogs came home happier, calmer, more emotionally connected. Veterinarians began reporting measurable health benefits, reduce anxiety, lower cortisol levels, improve social behavior. These weren't just bougie indulgences. They were healing. It turns out, when you build a world where dogs are treated with dignity, affection, and wonder, you create humans who soften, who slow down, who start questioning whether life has to be so utilitarian. Back in Malibu, Emily returned from Aspen with a cleared mind, but more than that, a quiet ache to see Miles. When she arrived at the Aria estate, he didn't just sprint to her. He ran like someone who had been loved in her absence, but never stopped waiting for her return. She knelt, hugged him, and whispered, "Thank you for waiting." The staff stood back, smiling, not because it was their job, but because they knew what had just happened. A woman found her home again, not in a house or a paycheck, but in the wet nose of a dog who had been given the royal treatment, and had never let it change his heart. And in that single, silent moment, the world of dog care had been redefined forever.